So, friends, Donald Trump's Department of Justice just dismissed the classified documents case against Donald Trump's former co-defendants, thereby protecting Donald Trump. You know, this kind of shit would make the mafia blush. But let's talk about it, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, welcome to another day in the age of governmental lawlessness in America. Let's do a quick recap. Donald Trump was criminally indicted in federal court down in Florida for unlawfully retaining classified documents, obstructing justice, and violating our nation's espionage laws. After Donald Trump was indicted, two of his guys were indicted for being part and parcel of Donald Trump's crimes. His two co-defendants were Walt Nauta and Carlos DeOliveira. But then Trump-appointed Judge Aileen Cannon swooped in and dismissed the case against all three, deciding that special counsel's not really a thing, wasn't really lawfully appointed in the case, contrary to every other judge in every other court, including the U.S. Supreme Court, who ever had to resolve a similar issue. But she didn't care about all of that. She dismissed the case against all three. Then the case was appealed to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, but because Donald Trump went and got elected, and because, DOJ thinks we can't prosecute a sitting criminal president, the appeal that is presently up in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals doesn't include Donald Trump because Jack Smith had to just dismiss that case outright against Trump. But the appeals court is sitting there ready to hear and rule on Walt Nauta and Carlos DeOliveira's case, and that court very likely would reverse Judge Aileen Cannon's dismissal against those two former Trump co-defendants. But now, Donald Trump's Department of Justice just up and dismissed the cases outright against Walt Nauta and Carlos DeOliveira. Now that we're up to speed, let's turn to the new reporting. This from CNN. Justice Department drops case against Trump's former co-defendants in classified documents investigation. And that article begins, President Donald Trump's administration is ending the case against his former co-defendants in the classified documents investigation brought by former special counsel Jack Smith. The Justice Department has stopped pursuing an appeal brought by Smith to revive the criminal charges against Trump's employees. The appeal had also sought to defend the Attorney General's ability to appoint special prosecutors, a long-held authority that Trump's administration has sought to undermine. Last summer, a federal judge, a Trump-appointed judge, Aileen Cannon, dismissed the case against Walt Nauta, who has served for years as Trump's valet, and Carlos DeOliveira, who worked as a property manager at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. CNN reported earlier this month that Trump was not planning to pardon Nauta and DeOliveira. Sources familiar with the strategy said a pardon would connote guilt. The appeals court has not yet signed off on the Justice Department's request, which is in line with what the two co-defendants wanted as well. The DOJ's move on Wednesday marks one of the last actions needed to unwind the criminal cases against Trump. The department dropped the charges Trump himself faced after he became president-elect. All three men had been charged in 2023 by Smith as part of his probe into Trump's alleged mishandling of classified information following his first term in the White House. But the historic case was tossed out by District Judge Aileen Cannon last summer, with the Trump appointee ruling that Smith's appointment by then Attorney General Merrick Garland violated the Constitution. Cannon decided, splitting with several other court rulings, including the U.S. Supreme Court, that Smith didn't have the authority to bring a grand jury indictment and that his office shouldn't have been able to be funded without congressional appropriations. At the time, Smith said prosecutors were keeping their case on classified documents alive against Nauta and DeOliveira, both of whom were accused of helping Trump obstruct the federal investigation into his alleged document mishandling. And friends, I hate to follow bad news with more bad news, but in case anybody's looking for another bitter pill to swallow, remember in recent weeks there's been this big battle over whether Volume 2 of Special Counsel Jack Smith's report, that is the part of the report that details the evidence of Trump and Nauta and DeOliveira's classified documents crimes, a big battle over whether it could be released. And remember, the Department of Justice, then Attorney General Merrick Garland, said, well, wait, we're not seeking to release it publicly. Why? Well, because Nauta and DeOliveira's case is up on appeal, and the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals will probably reverse Judge Cannon's basically lawless dismissal, and then they'll have to go to trial, Nauta and DeOliveira. And what you don't want to do is prejudice their rights to a fair trial by throwing Volume 2 out into the public square so everybody sees the evidence against them. That wouldn't be right. That wouldn't be fair. But DOJ and Merrick Garland said, we are going to release Volume 2 to the bipartisan leadership of the House Judiciary Committee and the Senate Judiciary Committee so they can perform their constitutional oversight functions of other branches of government. That makes perfect sense. But Judge Aileen Cannon, after having dismissed the case against Trump and Nauta and DeOliveira, said, no, I am prohibiting you from giving Volume 2 to the leadership of the House and Senate Judiciary Committees. I'm just not going to let you do it. Because, it could leak out. Well, wait a minute. Congressional committees get non-public, confidential information all the time, including national security information. So there was no basis for Judge Cannon to do what she did. But the reason she said she did it was because Nauta and DeOliveira may have to go to trial in the future, and, we want to protect their fair trial rights. We don't want the public to be able to see any of the evidence against them. But now, Donald Trump's DOJ swoops in and dismisses the cases entirely against Nauta and DeOliveira, so there will never be a public trial, very likely, and the House and Senate Judiciary Committees could very well have had Volume 2 of Special Counsel Jack Smith's report. But now, in a Trump-controlled Department of Justice, do you think anybody will ever see Volume 2 of that report detailing the evidence of Trump and Nauta and DeOliveira's crimes? This adds insult to injury to injustice. And I'll be honest, friends, I've been looking for a point of light associated with this legal development anywhere within 100 miles of this news that Trump's DOJ just completely got rid of the cases against his two former co-defendants, but I have not been able to find one. I mean, this is a searing injustice, and it just makes an absolute mockery of the rule of law and crimes that worked to the detriment of our national security. But we will fight on. We will fight on for the rule of law, for accountability, and for justice, because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.